Welcome back to another episode of What the Heck Next. My name is Carrie Morrow. This is my podcast. It's about coming to this place in your life where you certainly don't recognize the landscape because life has a way of changing our landscapes and plans, the ones we never planned to change. But they did. Here we are. As my brother likes to say, if you want to make God laugh, make plans. That's where I am. Where are you guys? Are you in a place where you just were so sure you knew how it was going to turn out and nothing like that? That's where I am. Let's just talk about that. Expectations and disappointments and readjustments, figuring out what to do next. Let's get into it. This is my podcast, What the Heck Next? Today, we're going to talk about what actually really happens when what you thought was going to happen didn't happen. It's attaching ourselves to a plan that we were so sure. We were so sure. And I will tell you on a daily basis, how many people are, do you know how to retire? Did you plan to retire? Did you save? Did you live in a state of mind where I believe that if something I want is going to happen, I don't really focus on the what if it doesn't, because that doesn't serve me. That doesn't do me any good. What if? Can I tell you a crazy expression? My father, who is not with us anymore, had an expression that he lived by. And every time I would say if, he would come back with, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine hearing that as a kid going, what does that mean? But that's how silly if is, right? If we're living in the if, we're not living in the now, then we're really kind of lost because if is like a rabbit hole. Down the rabbit hole. Well, if is like a buffet of what could go wrong. Actually work very, very hard to say, what if it turns out better than you thought? What if it's better than I dreamed? My life, I have to tell you, has turned out better than I dreamed. When I was 16 and my mother said to me, you better start to take life serious and you better start to think about what you want to do when you grow up. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I certainly didn't know anything about working in movies or Hollywood or producing or anything like that. My mother was just very, very conscious about teaching me to do something that mattered. She did tell me that women in finance, she would have preferred I was a lawyer or a doctor, as she said, a profession with a license. I took a different path and I was successful at it. It never, ever, ever, ever occurred to me that if would end. If I was a movie producer, what if it ends? I don't even know what that means. I didn't know well, I know what it means now. Let's go with that. I didn't think I worked in a business. I mean, entertainment is for life, isn't it? I mean, movies go on forever. And it's interesting to me how people talk about Hollywood. I will say now there's a whole lot more honesty out there and what if going on in conversations on the internet and social media. What if? Well, what if I just heard a post about New Jersey's going to be the new Hollywood and you're going to see, and they've always been great and they're building all these studios. So did Georgia. So did Georgia, the state of Georgia. I heard a report that they made 19 cents on every dollar they gave out in incentives. 19 cents? Well, guess what? If that's the formula, they didn't do so good. And not only that, that the companies that they all begged and please come here and shoot here, and Marvel and Tyler Perry and all those people that went, BET, all these companies that went to Georgia to shoot, because they weren't Atlanta or Georgia based, they didn't have to pay income tax there. And the state of Georgia suffered so much financially that it didn't serve them in the end. So don't sit here and tell me, oh, New Jersey's next and New York. Now I hear New York is having a hard time too. So they can put up whatever building they want with whatever sign on top of it. But if it's not strong and consistent, of which, once again, working outside of the country is so much better. So here's the news of the week. I got called out of the blue. You know how I say out of the blue miracles. I got called to do a budget for someone who I actually worked with in 2019 on a big TV show. He was the head of the studio at the time. And now that studio closed that division and he's out. And I think he's freelance or he's at this other company. And he invited me to come do a budget and a schedule for a movie out of the country. No unions, no residuals, no, not even Directors Guild, which, by the way, I've told you I'm in. And so that's it. There's the answer. The answer to this isn't here anymore. So when I hear these, but we're going to New Jersey, New Jersey's building Netflix and Lionsgate and this, stop it. Okay? Stop it. They can take a loss on all those buildings and they can rent them out to verticals or commercials or parties or bar mitzvahs for that matter. That doesn't mean that Hollywood is going to New Jersey. That means there's a building, a new warehouse with offices, and anybody can rent them. Anybody. Doesn't have to be movies. The cost in New York of the Teamsters and the cost of doing business and the unions and the rates and the full-blown fees, that's a tiny percentage of these enormous movies. And by the way, the top 5 movies of last year were not made in this country. So they can put up a sign in a building, but that doesn't mean that Hollywood, New Jersey's the new Hollywood, because that's nonsense. That is not true. And how there are all these people trying to get things to stay in LA. I heard a great story. So I heard a story, I'm not going to say what TV show. They were dancing around with joy. They got $20 million. $20 million to make their TV show here. It's a remake of an old show, and they had to have the beach. Had to have the beach. They could not shoot the show without a beach. But they were, stay in LA. You do it. You just stay here and you make your fabulous show here. And they were so happy. And they did. And they started to shoot. And then kind of the last piece was they were going to, the way movies are made is that the groups of locations are usually done together. So even though it may be 10 different days on the beach, they'll shoot all the beach days. They'll change everybody's clothes. They'll bring in different props and different actors and different background to make it look like it's a different day. But we shoot it all at not at the same time in one day necessarily. It could be 10 days in a row of beach stuff. And it appears like it's different days. And so they go to shoot their piece on the beach. And guess what? The beach told them they couldn't bring any equipment on the beach. None. No trucks, no cranes, no dollies, no drones, nothing. They could not bring their equipment on the beach. And now they are literally scrambling as to what to do. And let me tell you how they are regretting making their show here. By the way, guess where I would have made that show? Tijuana, because I got a pretty decent film situation down there. What were they thinking? It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing to sit here and try to turn LA into a silk purse from a sow's ear. All these expressions that I told you in 2024, I got called by a Joel Edgerton movie. Joel Edgerton is an actor from Dark Matters. And they wanted me to make this simple. It wasn't a complicated TV show here in Los Angeles. He was going to direct it, and it was going to be LA-based visual show. And I got them $2.5 million in the incentive twice. Once they decided to not do it, and then they said, let's do it. Let's try it. We're ready now. Let's do it again. Second time, $2.5 million. They got the incentive, and they looked at it and said, not worth shooting here. It's not enough money. Because yes, that the whole budget maybe would have been under $15 million. But the cost of doing business not just LA. I'm going to tell you, in this country, the unions and the residuals are payments that you get from the profits of a production once it's been released. It's companies, all they say to me is, we don't want to work in this country. We're not going to work here anymore. I had told you this time last year, I had an interview with a studio who kind of chuckled and said, "Oh yeah, we're not making anything in this country anymore. We feel sorry for all you guys that need work." Thank you. Okay? But they're not working in this country because that's the saddest part. So they can sit here and bang their drums about a federal incentive and a California incentive and a New Jersey incentive. But until the whole infrastructure is reevaluated, and I am pro-union, I am pro-benefits, but people join unions for their labor protections, but for their benefits, because in this country, unlike any place else, even in Mexico or New Zealand or England or any of those places, they have health insurance. We don't have health insurance here. To pay for it, and studios have to pay for it. Percent of my labor budget goes to the cost of taxes, health insurance, and all the things that go with it. How does a production survive? Well, guess what? There's an answer. Not here. They're not surviving here. Here in this country, which is just the saddest thing of all. That's where we're at. In the meantime, yes, I get called to do a budget. I'm very excited. Going to do a budget and schedule. Let me tell you something. It's for a third of what I normally charge, but that's the new normal, and I'm happy to participate in the boat. I'd rather be in the boat than being dragged behind it. I'm going to get paid to do this budget and schedule for somebody. Somebody said to me, "So if you do this, does this guarantee you a job if the production shoots?" I hope so. Like I said, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I want to do a great job, and there'll be others. Even this person that contacted me said, there'll be others. There'll be others. We'll do more. Let's just get this one going. And yay. Here's my answer. Yay. I said, yes, yes, yes. I'm happy to do it. Happy to participate. Happy to get involved. My friend was right to call me up and say, could you take a look at this? Could you please redo it? Let's get this in a good place. And remember, I did Saw 10 in Mexico City, and they want to go to Mexico City. It's a great place to shoot if you have the right people. Shooting in Mexico City is interesting because not only do you really need to know the language, but you really need to speak the culture, because there's a whole culture behind working in a foreign country. And in Mexico especially, you have to be smart enough to understand it's not us against them. And when I made Saw 10, the people that I went to Mexico for to bring the movie there, they were of the mentality, us against them. Don't let them get away with anything. Don't let them. But I don't think like that. Let's just understand the culture, listen to them, create a great working situation, make the movie for the money that you have. This isn't a big budget movie. This is under $5 million, and Mexico, that goes a long way. So I'm really happy to make this project look great and get it on its feet and do more, because once again, I'm not retired. I'm not going anywhere. I am not emotionally prepared to stop. One of my followers said to me, "Can you pull your Social Security?" I don't want to tap into any of my retirement monies at this point. I want to keep going, and I want to have that for me later on down the line when I really need it. Right now, I'm still good. I'm still going. I'm really excited that I asked the universe. I really did. I have to tell you that every single night I go outside, I pray under the stars, and I say, show me, show me, show me. Let me tell you, I have not heard from this person that called me this time since 2019, 18, 19 is the last time I talked to them. And they saw me on social media. So I sit here sometimes and I go, oh, is anybody listening to me? Is anybody watching me? Guess what? One person. My mother always says, it only takes one. Not only did he not even have he didn't even have my phone number. He reached out to me on Instagram and said to me, "There you are. I got the situation. I'd love for you to do it. I am doing this social media. I've made a solid commitment, and it's not even I'm going to post every day and I'm going to do a podcast every week. I just keep going for the moment." It's funny. I sat down to do this today, and my son, who is home because his season is over now, he said to me, "What are you going to talk about today, Mom?" And I want to talk about, as I've said, what do you do when you don't know where your plans are, what they're going to be, where did they go, how am I going to do this? But I do. I sit down and I talk, and somebody heard me. He heard me. This guy heard me. He was so happy to connect with me, trust me, because I made a great TV show for him and it came in on schedule, under budget. We did a great job. And by the way, we did shoot that here in LA for a pretty low budget, I have to tell you. I made it happen. So somebody believed in me, and the seeds that I planted, I don't know, 7 years ago, they still had roots. That means more to me. When I ask the universe, do I matter? Does anybody hear me? Sometimes I see that nobody watched my podcast. I have to believe that somebody did. And my voice is out there and my heart is out there, and I am not done. And out of the blue, miracles happen because I asked for them. Abracadabra. Abracadabra. I speak and I create. What I speak is what I create. That is from the Hebrew word, the Aramaic, abracadabra. I speak, therefore I create. I actually believe that that is a power that we have, and it's not specific. Okay. Yes, my plans disappeared. No, did I ever think Hollywood would be gone? I mean, do you know, I used to say to my kids when they were little, when I'm dead, please don't talk about Hollywood at my funeral, because I thought I would work until I was dead. I really did. There was nothing in my mind that made me think that I would not work anything short of dead in this business. I would keep going. I would keep making stuff and getting called, even if it slowed down to a project a year or 2 projects a year, I was still going. So it's not impossible to speak and create, believe and see, because here I am. Like I always say, life is a way of changing your plans, the ones you didn't plan to change, and they did. And I have been sitting here for years without a career, without benefits, without a paycheck. I'm surrounded by all my friends who are in the same Titanic. But just like Rose held on to the door in that movie, I'm holding on because I believe that the universe shows me every day that there are opportunities and there are things, and I may not recognize them. And yes, the universe has changed my plans, but there is abracadabra for me because I speak and I create, and it's not easy for me to sit here. I told you, I spent 40 years behind the camera. I was not in front of the camera. I did not ever think that I'd be in front of a camera. That's just an odd place for me. But there is hope. It was interesting this week, and I really celebrate Savannah Guthrie for going back to work, because life had a way of changing her plans, ones she never planned to change. She lost her mother to a mystery, to an unanswered mystery. What happened to Grandma? What happened to Grandma Guthrie is just heartbreaking. There was all this talk and speculation. Will she ever go back to work? How is she going to be joyous in the middle? Because the rearview mirror is only this big, and we have to drive forward, and the windshield is this big. Her mother is watching over her, and she had to make peace and go back to her life. We have our own life, separate from our parents, separate from our legacy. We have a life. We have to keep driving forward. I can't imagine. It was interesting. I saw an article that said the reason Kelly Osbourne is so skinny is because her father died last year. People die. I mean, I don't know what to say. It is pretty devastating, but that can't be a reason why she has chosen to starve herself or not eat. Do I think she looks bad? I think that's actually Beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. It's up to her holding on to somebody who died a year ago. We must stay positive. We must move forward. We have a journey. We are driving in our own vehicle of life. And it is super important that we don't forget that. People have losses. I really admire Savannah Guthrie for getting back out there because she had to. She has children, she has a husband, she has a life. Her mother lived on the other side of the country and something horribly tragic happened to her. It was time to make peace and move forward. And God bless that family for what they went through. We all have tragedy and we all have loss. And losing my career, in Hollywood, because you're freelance, you keep thinking the silence is standard. Silence in Hollywood is standard. So your phone doesn't ring for months and then all of a sudden it rings and you're off. The silence has become the standard, except now it's, good gosh, it's so long it doesn't even make sense anymore. I'm excited that this little crumb, this thing I spoke of, and it showed up in a miracle. I'm happy to do this little budget. It makes me know that I'm driving in the right direction. For all of you out there who are confused and don't understand which direction to drive in, just face forward. Just look out the windshield, not in the rearview mirror. That is not going to serve us. Create, speak and create, because out there is an out of the blue miracle, whatever it is you're looking for, whatever it is. There is an out of the blue miracle, just like that podcast that took me down the rabbit hole last night. Oh my gosh, I'm investing all this money into my son, into his sport. This guy's out there going, well, parents are just stupid. That was not a good podcast for me to listen to before I was going to bed. Great things happen when you shoot the puck. Great things happen when you speak. Abracadabra. Create, speak, believe. It's out there for all of us. I know it is because I see it. I don't want to believe anything short of that because I've always been a person who has been blessed and great things happen when I shoot the puck. That much I'll tell you. I really appreciate you being here. And I'm going to keep talking because I'm good at it. I speak, I create. I want you to listen. Please subscribe, like, follow, recommend me to anybody who has lost their way, whose life plans did not plan out, whose journey is confusing, whose opportunities feel like they've dried up. I'm there. I'm with you. We're together. My name is Carrie Morrow. This is my podcast, What the Heck Next? And I'm so grateful that every week you tune into me on Wednesdays. I put up a new podcast. I appreciate you. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, please join me. Have an amazing week because great things happen when you shoot the puck. And don't forget that. Abracadabra.